training. It's where they are very kind of early stages. Harry's a bit further ahead. He's had more sessions than Liam, but again, to be assessed as to whether they can take part this weekend.
And I think you said last week that Jeff Tavares was getting some investigations. Any update on that one?
Yeah, again, don't think that the extent of the injury is as bad as maybe first thought, but again, still looks like he'll be out for a period of time.
So there's a bit of news this week about Lennon Miller, the club rejecting offers for him. How does that work with Lennon? Do you speak to him about that? And obviously he's not playing at the moment, so he won't be affected on the pitch, but you just have to keep him up to date. Is that he's perfectly fine with what's happening?
Yeah, no issues. Again, if you look through the archives and what I've always said and how consistent I've been about it, the relationship between myself, Lennon, his family, his representative is a really good one. We're all on the same page with everything that's going on. You see all the different rumours and all the different clubs that's been going on, not just this week but for months now. I think we're all very, very comfortable with that situation, and I think that Brian Caldwell done an interview with the club website the other day, and I think he's summed it up, and I think he's been very, very transparent. Obviously there's stories that get run off the back of that, but I would refer you back to what Brian had said, because it's the accurate version as opposed make up stories and put numbers to it and add some clubs to it.
Obviously we lost away at St Johnstone last weekend. What are you sort of looking for from the team this weekend to improve on that result?
We need to play better for a start. We need to start the game better. We've not started the game well, particularly in the last three for us. So again, that's never an instruction from a manager to players. That's never an instruction from teammate to teammate. You know, we always want to start games well. By and large, when we do, we're really competitive. By and large, when we do, we've found ourselves picking up plenty of points and finding wins and good results. So we have to start the game better. We have to play with more confidence. We have to defend better as a team, and we have to attack better as a team. I know that sounds really, really simple. It's something we've been working really hard on since Saturday. We're all disappointed with the result and the performance. You know, there's no hiding from that. There's no getting away from that. I always feel that I'm very, very honest in that sense, as are the players. That we're not trying to kid anybody on that we played well enough on Saturday. And that's not to pacify, you know, any of our supporters or anybody else. We know that before anybody else. We acknowledge that before anybody else. We put an awful lot into this, and when you do that, you know, you have to have that honesty, and you need to have that lack of ego to understand where you've went wrong and how you make that better. Rest assured, we've spent a lot of time in a video room getting players to understand again that they are better than what they showed. They know that themselves, and to try and get us to connect and click with how we actually want to play and what we actually want to bring to a game of football. So we get another chance to do that on Saturday. That'll never get us back in the cup. That'll never put us into the next round of the cup. I acknowledge that, but you've got an opportunity 7 days later against the same opponent at the same venue to try and in some small way make up for what was a bad day for us.
Sure, there seems to be a way when sort of you guys lose games or perhaps have a poor performance. It's this talk about style of play gets rolled out. It's obviously a style of play that's got you 9 points better off, I think, than this time last season.
Yep.
In a cup semi-final and in the top 6. What is it you like about sort of the way you serve your team, and also why do you think it works for the group of players you've assembled at your disposal?
No, I always kind of laugh because I always talk about football being knee-jerk. I don't laugh to disrespect anybody, but we talk about style of play. Style of play in relation to what? Who are you playing against? What pitch are you playing on? What's the level of the opposition? You know, we're talking about playing St Johnstone away, St Johnstone at home, Celtic at Celtic Park, you know, Rangers at Ibrox. Who's it we're talking about? Because I think there's a lot of experts out there and a lot of people that know better than the folk that have actually walked in the shoes and experienced it, trials and tribulations. You get things right, you get things wrong. Whether that narrative wants to start to come about, have a wee bit of look round Scotland in all games of football at this time of year, weather conditions, pitches. It often dramatically changes from what it looks like in the first day of the season in the summer when the pitches are perfect and the weather's calm and the sun's shining. that has a huge bearing on football. I refer you back to last season. Again, we had so many plaudits at times for how we were playing, the style of football, the brand of football, keeping possession of the ball, creating chances. We went 15 games and we never won a game of football. You're trying to find that balance between trying to entertain, you're trying to find that balance between winning games of football, which is always the most important thing. And again, I'll refer you back to a lot of times for the so-called expert in Scottish football, they think that you've played well when you win and you've played poorly when you lose, and that's kind of the summary of it, in my opinion. I always try to get a balance between trying to win results or gain points. You rightly say 9 points better off than at this stage last season, and trying to entertain. And the bit that people keep forgetting about as well is a huge remit at this football club is to try and develop your own players, to try and make sure that you bring players through from your academy, from loan deals, young players that come through. And sometimes with that there's inconsistencies, of course there is, and I'm the first one to hold my hands up to that. But what I'm not prepared to do is become ridiculously emotional, and because somebody says that they don't like the style of football or they're not happy with a particular game of football, you'll forgive me for saying that if I was in that mindset, then we'd be ripping things up every single week and we wouldn't stick to the plan that we set out, not just this season, but the plan that was set out pretty much 2 years ago when I came in. And it's actually been pretty fruitful for us, if we're being honest, in terms of those player sales, points gained, overall records and all the different things that come with it.
How do you balance that if you've maybe got that element of noise sort of in the background, but as you say, you pointed out, it has got a track record of being successful and then more than pass extra on the part of the player sales there as well?
Nah, again, that's where every manager, in my opinion, has to stand strong. I'm looking down south, and one of the best managers that I've come across and pit my wits against, and Ange Postecoglou. There seems to be a lot of people telling him how he should and shouldn't play football. I know it's a different league, a different level, but I can only give you my take on it. I've heard every opinion on what the guy does. Pretty much every person that's spoken about it hasn't a tenth or a hundredth his experience and his that walking in the shoes element again that I talk about. So I think you have to blank out a lot of that noise. There's a lot of people that I respect in the game that have that experience, a lot of people that I would listen to their opinion. And again, I'm not disregarding or disrespecting anybody. Everybody's got their opinion. We hear it a lot in Scottish football and throughout the world. But I think it's safe to say I'll not be influenced by any noise or any opinions that, again, from people that have never done the job and never dedicated their life to this sport and to this game. But I think that's the case for all managers. I don't just think that's the case for me at Motherwell.
Sorry, just to go back to Lennon a wee bit. When you're talking about sort of the bids from other clubs, it's maybe been a thing in the past, but how important is it for you as a club to try and get maybe the value for the actual player as opposed to maybe clubs bidding the value of the league and how they maybe have valued the league?
I think we've always said that, and I think Brian stressed that as well. It's not the value of the bidding club; it's the value of the club that currently own the player and have their registration. That's the most important part of it. We've always had a plan in place for Lennon, but several other players that have been sold were unified with that as well. It's not that one or two of us are sitting here with a different thought process. So really comfortable in that situation. Again, I know I'm going back to what Brian said, but the words that came out of Brian's mouth are the exact same thoughts in myself and several others that are involved in this.
Just going back to the style debate, if you look at the amount of games that obviously Callum, Slattery, Sam Nicholson, Harry Creighton, Ross Callan and now Lennon has missed, does that just mean maybe you've had to kind of deal with situations as they arise rather than maybe playing the sort of football that ideally you would like to play? Is that something that might change when you get these guys back for an extended period?
Some of the guys you mentioned are no bad in the ball, other they can handle the ball pretty well. So I've always said I won't make an excuse, but I'll let you draw your own conclusion.
Stuart, just on the bar review that's come out recently for the Kilmarnock game a couple of weeks ago, what did you make of the audio that's now been released between the bar and the on-field referee?
With regards to
The
Dan Casey incident, pretty much what we all seen and thought at the same time. And just like I said at the time, you can try and convince yourself that something happened, or you can actually look at what did happen. And when you get a chance to look at it 4, 5, 6 times, then I did say at the time, and I need to be consistent with this, that there was only one person that seen it the way of a red card. And unfortunately for us at the time, that was the person that can make the call. I've not since spoken to another person, and I think off the back of the review, we can all hear the audio and we can all sense what everybody else seen and knew at the time. So again, it's another one of those situations that baffles you and frustrates you, and you end up in a position where you get frustrated and continuously getting yellow cards and all the rest of it. When I thought it was well enough summed up yesterday. It's not a red card, and we all knew that at the time.
Is that quite frustrating though, that you're in a position that you can't affect it?
Slightly, yeah, it is slightly frustrating. And again, I've mentioned the fact that everyone will point to the side of things where I've received yellow cards and red cards for the side of the pitch. But I'd also draw your attention to how many times that comes as a result of a big decision or a really simple decision in the case of Ewan Wilson against St Johnstone at the weekend, where he's quite clearly pulled back, the referee lets the game go on and blows up for a foul for St Johnstone a few seconds later. But apparently in Scottish football you're not allowed to show any emotion, and you're not allowed to kind of protest your case, and it results in a fourth official screaming and shouting at you, and then telling the referee to come over and book you. I'm sorry, but I have to take exception. I have to at times have a smile on my face about that one. I just find that baffling. I find it baffling.
Just on the St Johnstone game, is this, do you need to look at it as a positive, that the things that you need to correct the Arsenal pressure in the end?
It's only a positive if you approach it right at the time it counts. We've had that, genuinely had a really good week. I'm seeing players that look far more confident. I'm seeing players that have been able to shake off the disappointment at the weekend. But I've said this through the last couple of days to the players as well, that's great, that's what we're working towards. But we have to go and be able to show that emotional intelligence come 3 o'clock on Saturday, because all the talk, all the practice, all the preparation is great to get you there, but you need to be able to deliver at the time that it counts.
You mentioned obviously the injury list and that kind of thing. Obviously there's no winter break this season. Is that having much of an effect on preparations for games and the process?
I think just naturally it will do with the run of games and the lack of recovery time, no doubt about it. But the scientific side of it, the exact numbers of how many more injuries we've sustained from it, I'm not really able to give you that. Some of them have been impact injuries, which could happen in any game, any time. But I certainly don't think it's helped us when you look at the injury list that we've got just now. And I think there's quite a few teams out there in a similar boat.
You managed to get a bounce game this week, or is it hard just to get the numbers together for that?
Yeah, we were let down with the one that was intended and the one that was arranged, but we managed to organise something with ourselves in-house, got a lot of good minutes in, and some minutes to players that I really hope can push on in this next couple of weeks and get up to full match fitness. So I'm pretty comfortable with what happened for us, with regards to our preparation. It wasn't ideal, but we found a way around it, and we've managed to get plenty of minutes into the legs for, as I say, guys that I hope can kind of push on for starts and various things. We talk about the noise behind you. We hear cries for players to be starting and playing X amount of minutes. Again, I'd refer back to the point that people need to understand the situation and how long the player's been out and what they're capable of doing.